All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to listening to the podcast. Not too sure why I wanted to talk about stimulants this morning. But might as well. While I'm here drinking some yerba mate, waiting to feel like cooking breakfast. The mornings are feeling so late. It's so weird. Like, this time of year for me is just so dang weird. Like, the sun comes out at almost 7 a.m. It's like, what the heck? Like, I feel like whenever I see the sun, if it's not cloudy, my gosh. Like, whenever I see the sun, it's like, wow, like, it's already late. Like, to me, 7 a.m. feels a little late. Like, it's not like I'm actively up, like, working out or anything, but it's like, you guys who listen know, like, 5:30 a.m. is, like, a morning kind of, like, norm for me. Maybe close to 6, but quite a few days, I've kind of pushed to waking up, like, after 6:30 a.m., which is weird for me. I don't have blackout curtains. It's kind of like one of those things where I'm like, when I go to hotels, I notice that I wake up pretty good, like later, and sleep better when I have blackout curtains, blocking out any kind of like street lights, moonlight, morning light. So I do notice it does help my sleep. For me, hotels are a little weird because sometimes the walls are pretty thin. I've had some good hotel experiences, like, where I was, like, shocked how quiet it was. But I feel like hotels for me are, like, I bring earplugs because, people want to watch TV, or, like, they sit, like, in the bed next to, like, a shared wall, and then they talk, and I can usually hear that kind of thing through the walls, not like in a weird way. I'm just saying, like, it's like the walls are thin, and like usually the noise levels are even when it's like what would be a normal noise level for somebody, you can still hear it. Like, I'm very sensitive to kind of like noise I don't recognize too. Like, I'm used to living in a trafficy area and sounds of traffic, or just like, things like animals, dogs barking, that kind of stuff. But, yeah, like, I can kind of tell what time of day it is just by the sound of the traffic. Like, it's like, okay, traffic's picking up. It must be this time. It must be that time. Like, I can kind of tell. So between the traffic and the sunlight and the moonlight, it's like, I can kind of gauge what time of day or night it already is. But yeah, I have noticed I've been sleeping later, going to bed a little later, but actually sleeping pretty good. But it's just weird for me waking up without as many hours in the morning to just, I don't really do anything. I do, but I don't. Like, I'm not, like, up, but usually I'm, like, reading or writing and that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it's just weird for me. Like, it's a weird little shift. I'm a Southern California person. Like, I complain so much when the weather's cloudy. I'm like, I am not about this. Like, it's sunny now, but it's like, I don't like it. I don't like it when it's cloudy. Like, the only thing I like when the weather, I know we need the rain and everything. I know the reality of, like, droughts and all that we need like the rain water to like survive and everything, but I'm just it really affects me, like motivation wise, mentally, emotionally. Like I'm not, it doesn't make me like necessarily like sad, I wouldn't say. It's just more like you know, I want to just like put on some sweats and like bundle up and not do anything. And that's not really the way I like to feel. I like to be like no sweats. I want to put on my shorts because that's what I wear, and then go out and do what I'm gonna do. Which, kind of brings me to the whole stimulants. Now I'm not into too many types of stimulants. Just because I'm pretty sensitive to them, and I hate the crash. Like, for me, the crash isn't worth it. It's kind of the same way I feel about alcohol. It's like the effects of it after the fact are not usually worth it to me. It's like, yeah, it's fun to get a little buzz or get tipsy or even get pretty drunk, but then it's like, once I start feeling it after, I'm like, do I really want to spend the whole day or whole half of a free day recovering from what I did the day before or the night before? Like, I just can't, I just don't like it anymore. Like, I used to really like it, and I just, like, I feel like my time and my energy is so precious these days. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to waste a free day off lounging around trying to like eat as much enchiladas and Denny's as I can eat just to feel like I can actually get out of bed and go to the gym, on a weekend morning or something because of the night before. Like, I'm just kind of like, it's kind of not for me. Yes, on occasion, it's just fun sometimes, like with friends, to have those experiences together, but it's just the next day is just, it's always hard for me, especially because my tolerance now is so low. It's like, 2 drinks, maybe even 1, I'll feel it the next day. So it's kind of like, I really try to do what I can to like protect my energy, because it's just something that's really like, it takes a lot of little things here and there. Now, I have definitely noticed that having Mondays off already is a big game changer for me. I've never done this before. I've never had a non-40-hour work week. I feel like I'm like a kid in a candy store. Like, I'm just like so many opportunities to just like do stuff. I notice right away my energy is different. I'm like more motivated. Just having more energy to do like creative stuff. I mean, I've definitely got stuff I have to do that's not creative necessarily, but it's like career related stuff. But it just gives me like an extra day to do not even errands. Like, people who know me, I do my errands during the week, even though it sucks. It's like, I'd rather do my errands and chores and all that during the weekdays, even though I'm exhausted, so that when I have my days off, it's like fully off. Like, I'm fully off. So other than studying, I'm not doing anything else, unless it's hanging out or going out or just like, gym, beach, that kind of thing. We will soon be adding snowboarding to this list in about a month and a half. I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that. I don't know. Snowboarding is like what gets me through the winter. Like, honestly, it's like, I don't know if I would have any other way of like pushing myself to function if I couldn't just go to the mountains and like make something worth of crappy weather. Like, to me, that's the only thing that makes it worth it, is like that I can go and be out in nature and do something athletic, and it kind of just, helps. But yeah, like, I think my preference really, stimulant wise, is yerba mate, like, hands down. Like, I like the Guayaki brand. Um, yeah, I got introduced to it by my brother, and told some friends about it and stuff too, and kind of started knowing, like, not studying, but like learned a bit about it, like culturally and everything. And I don't drink that much of it because I'm so sensitive to caffeine. It's like I don't need like that much. But I notice it's just it's a motivation. It's a big motivational tool. Like, so between yerba mate and C4 are different types of like pre-workouts, but I usually use C4 as a pre-workout. Those two things, not on the same days. Like, you're not really supposed to have C4 on the same day as any other caffeinated, substances, like coffee and stuff. You're not really supposed to be having coffee in the morning and then like C4, at noon or in the afternoon or whatever. For me, I definitely cut off the caffeine around 12, maybe 1 at the latest, but 12 is good. But yeah, I try not to, I just try not to have too much caffeine. But yerba mate does have a lot of caffeine. So does C4. C4 for a whole scoop is 200 milligrams of caffeine. Not to count, it has other stuff in it. Like, I think it's got like B12 and other kinds of like stimulant type things in there. Like, I don't really know. But yeah, yerba mate, I basically like it because, like, unlike coffee, and this is just my experience, unlike coffee, there's just two things I like more about it. First of all, yerba mate, for some reason, I feel like a little more euphoric. Like, it's kind of like a happy energy. It's not just like energy. It's like more of a focused energy where I'm a little, I find my mind is kind of like a little more like, just like wanting to just have a good day and focus on some happy things, and focus on the positive of kind of stuff that's coming up and everything. And also, I don't get a crash from yerba mate. Now, what I notice with both coffee and yerba mate and any other type of energy drinks is, for me, when it's like wearing off, I do get pretty, like, I guess, sweaty. Like, not like, it's not like that bad, but it's like, yeah, I do get a little bit sweaty. And I do usually remember to drink a lot of water when I'm having caffeine. Usually I'll have it like 7:30 a.m. and then maybe again around noon. That's usually normal for me. And coffee, for me, what I don't like is the crash. And so I've probably described this before, but usually when I have any type of like stimulant like thing, and it's mostly just like caffeine as a stimulant, but when I have anything like that, usually I don't drink the whole thing at once. It'll take me multiple days. So even when I get, like, for example, a McDonald's coffee, like a small size McDonald's hot coffee, just black coffee, nothing else in it, that's kind of like my go-to if I run out of any kind of coffee in the house, and I'll just be like, I'm just going to pop over to McDonald's, get a quick coffee. It's cheap. It's usually fairly strong. One of those cups of coffee will usually last me 2 to 3 days, usually 2 to 3 days. I don't drink that much caffeine. I try to keep it pretty low. I don't know if this is a trick to it, but for me, usually, I have, for breakfast, a lot of times I have, like, I started having eggs and avocados. I might add some like fruits and like some other kinds of stuff, but I usually keep my carbs pretty low until maybe like 11. And I usually try to have caffeine like an hour or so before I've had anything to eat, just on an empty stomach. I notice it just kicks in right away. And then, I have really nothing else in my system. And then water, just add water. I just drink water too, like 1 or 2 of those like personal size water bottles. That's usually like something I would do in the morning, like probably around 7:30 a.m. And then usually breakfast is usually around 8:30. I start wanting to eat breakfast. Mind you, I work remotely, so it's a little bit easier for me to kind of like eat at whenever or whatever. But yeah, usually around 8:30 I'll eat breakfast. And like I said, like eggs, avocados, maybe some like veggie bacon strips, some fruit, stuff like that. That's been like a pretty normal breakfast for me. And I feel like between the fats and the fruit, sugars, it kind of keeps the energy still kind of boosted. I feel like if I add carbs early in the morning, it kind of slows me a bit. So I usually try to hold off on the carbs till maybe if I have a snack around 11:30, because I've already been going by that time. And I notice around that time of day, around 11:30, I start feeling like that's a weird time of day for me, because I start feeling like I'm not really like hungry necessarily, but I know I need something in my system before lunch. Like I usually wouldn't want to wait till like 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock or so. Usually that's too long without anything else. So usually that's when I'll have like toast, or like we've always got like baked goods around the house, so like a muffin, or like oatmeal cookies, or like half of a perfect bar or something like that, like something that's kind of like a little bit dense, usually has some carbs to it, but it's just kind of like a snack. Not the healthiest snack, it's not like I'm eating like fruits and vegetables and stuff like at that time, but yeah, just that kind of snack that I mentioned. So yeah, I notice when I have that kind of routine in the mornings, that really does help my energy a lot. And then usually near about 1:30 is my lunch break. So I do try to eat around 12:30 for lunch, even though I'm usually not hungry yet. But usually I'm eating while I'm working. There's some stuff that I try to do around 12:30 that helps me. I try near 12:30 p.m., 12:30 in the afternoon to have like a little, maybe a small amount of like exercise. That's where it gets a little tricky for me, is because so trying to incorporate C4 is a little hard for me, because if I already have caffeine in the morning, then that means it's probably going to be like yerba mate again a little bit around 12:30. So this is like probably a weekday routine. And then usually from that point on, I cut it off. Like, it'll take me through the rest of my shift. Usually I'm good. For lunch, I usually have God only knows what, like anything from like veggie burgers with fries, some kind of oven meal type of thing. Just something that can easily heat in the oven. Usually it's kind of like a bigger meal, because if I'm going to get any kind of exercise, I usually like a bigger meal before that. But then like, I'm not like too pressed for time. Like, but I am usually in the middle of work. So it's kind of like I have to wait till I'm on hold to go like throw something in the oven, and then like wait till I'm on hold to go grab something out of the oven and prep it real quick. And then like I kind of just eat while I'm like writing and stuff. And then I take my actual 30-minute lunch break. Not every single day, but on a good day, a 30-minute lunch break to actually get in a workout during work. So all that, I think it definitely helps me with my sleep. It's definitely been helping. I feel like I'm still able to sleep. I mean, I have like a nighttime regimen and a whole like evening types of like supplements that I take, but that's for another episode. But that's mostly kind of how my mornings are. And that's what I noticed for my own self personally, what's different. Now for the C4, for me, that's more of a weekend thing. And again, I don't usually take a full scoop of it. It'll usually be less than a full scoop. How much less, I don't know. Usually like max would be like half of a scoop. That's if I'm trying to like be at the gym for maybe like 2 hours or something. And then, so yeah, that's usually like max. I'm not going to say I never have C4 on the same day that I have like yerba mate or coffee or something. I just know it just doesn't feel good. Like, I know that I'm not going to feel good after that. Like, the come down is like, there's a come down to it for me. It's just like, bro, this is like intense. But sometimes it's like, I use it literally to get myself off my ass. Like, it's literally like, sometimes I'm like, dude, I've been way too sedentary. I need to be working out. I know I need to be. And, like, at least this time of year is easier for me to work out because I have like goals, like the weather cooling off. As much as I hate it, it does help with like working out in home, because at least it's not like 90 degrees inside the house or something. Like, it's cooled off inside the house, and so it's comfortable to just like be a little extra sweaty. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I have a weird relationship with caffeine. I grew up drinking tea, which is something I wasn't thinking about until kind of more recently. I grew up drinking tea for breakfast. It was usually just like black tea, like whatever we had like in the house. Just like black tea. But I grew up drinking tea. And then I got more into like Japanese green teas like a little later on, probably in like high school or so. But yeah, I grew up drinking tea and eating breakfast before going to school almost every day. Like, I was raised with like breakfast and that kind of thing. So it's definitely a part of my routine that I held on to. But I do notice it does depend what I eat and what types of stimulants I might take with how my energy kind of like is for the day. For me, C4, the hardest part of it is coming down from it. It does affect my sleep. It definitely does get me like out of the house, off the couch, into a gym, or even if I'm working out at home, it definitely gets me working out. Like, it's very rare that I won't work out if I have C4. Like, on very rare occasions, if I run out of like tea, coffee, everything, and I only have C4, then I'll be like, fine, I'll just like drink C4 in the morning. But it can make me a little irritable. I get like irritated. I'm not even like mad. It's just like, I'm just kind of short. I'm short with people. I'm just kind of like a little like snappy. Like, I kind of have to like catch myself. Like, I notice it, but I'm like, I kind of have to like really catch myself and like my tone and everything. Like it doesn't make me feel like bad until like the complete crash, and then I'm like, just like I just get irritated with people. I don't want to be around anybody. So for me, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like it helps to get a good workout in. You get a good pump after the workout. Like definitely there's a type of muscle definition that I don't get from just like coffee or something. And definitely like getting in more reps and getting in more like just, it's just definitely noticeable like what's happening to the body. But I think it's just too much, and I can't do that every day. I used to have it very like consecutively, like and when I was working out a lot, that was like a time period when I worked out a lot, and it was because I was having C4 like almost every day, or a version of some kind of pre-workout. Sometimes I didn't want to spend on C4, so I get like whatever the cheapest brand was. I would get like these brain zaps. That's what they call it. It's like these weird headaches that's just like in this one little area, and it just kind of like all of a sudden it just comes and goes real quick. Like you'll just be like going about your day, and all of a sudden you feel this like sharp pain in like your head, and it's like, damn, like that's not normal. Like it happens for like a split second or so, or like a couple seconds, but it's like I've never had that experience with any other thing other than pre-workouts. And yeah, that's mostly what I've been, I've talked on here before about how I've had to take days off when I've gotten too much into a weird caffeine cycle, and between the stress and lack of sleep, all that, it just gets to be too much. And so sometimes I literally have to take time off work just to kind of like stop, just to force myself to just get away from caffeine. And a lot of times on weekends too, I do try to take maybe like a day or maybe 2 days sometimes, or at least a half a day with no caffeine in my system. And I try not to have it every single day of the week. So I do try to have at least a 24-hour period without, or at least every couple weeks, a whole weekend without, but when I'm working out, like it helps me on the weekends, to actually get in the gym longer and do better there. But yeah, well, for now, that's it, and thanks for listening.